It's Wednesday morning, which means it's probably time for competitive advantage if it's not the last 2 weeks. Hi, Noah.
Hello. How are you, Colin?
I am flippin' amazing because I went to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. How about you?
I'm more amazing than you because I went to sleep at 4.
Okay, so between the two of us, we have what is a normal amount of sleep.
Yeah, but you know what? That's okay because there was probably something so cool keeping you up late, wasn't there, Colin?
Stress?
Me too. All right, never mind. This isn't as good as
No, it's all good. Things are actually relatively good right now. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have a different episode than we've done the last 4 weeks, where we had a thing we were going to teach you and we'll put it all together. Noah and I have not done this for a couple weeks. Really excellent reasons why we haven't, but we haven't done it for a few weeks. And I'm doing a bunch of different stuff with the network. I want to update you guys on that. Noah is back from a tournament and heading to another tournament. That man wants a golden ticket, so we're going to talk about that. And then I have, if we have time allotted, I have a few other surprise topics, but they could go till next week. So that's what's up. But let's start with, why didn't we do an episode the last few weeks? What have you had going on, Noah? Anything? Your real life normal and fine?
Unexpectedly, a month ago, I was laid off.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the midst of a bunch of job search stuff already. And so I had a million things happen last month, over the last 40 days, whatever, that have been terrible. It's all right. I feel like life comes in seasons. I've had like a kid get appendicitis. I had a job offer revoked. I had my entire house got norovirus and had terrible things coming out of lots of different parts of their bodies. It's been literally like something new and creatively messed up twice a week, every week for like the last 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm here and I want to be here. So, I'm not dead yet.
Well, I don't know if you know. So I have this concept of the money fairy.
Okay.
When things are going well in your life, the money fairy makes sure that you're taken care of. Something happens and it's a disaster and you need $500, and then suddenly some friend you loaned $600 to 10 years ago comes back and is like, hey, I owe you money. Like that's the way that the money fairy represents herself. And for much of my life, the money fairy was chilling in my car vibing. And so when the economy got weird and I lost my job, I ended up having to make the decision of saying, you know what? I don't want to have the job I have right now at the income level I'm used to. Because when I lose that job, boy, is it awful. So I have been restructuring so that the money fairy is not critical and that she can go F herself because she stopped visiting and it was not pleasant.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the money fairy stopped visiting years ago, and it really turns out I was relying on her and I didn't know. So what happened is, and I've been pretty open about this, we overbought house-wise. We bought a bunch of property at the beginning of COVID when our family was going through a million different things. And to be realistic, we can't keep it up. It's too much work. And when you get behind on something like that, at least for me, it becomes impossible. If you say to me, we need to pick up these 100 rocks and you can pick up 1 rock per day, I'm going to go, ugh, right. That's an impossible project for my brain. So we're selling the house, which is great because there's way better places we can live for much less money. And that'll be fantastic for my family and will also allow me some freedom to do this. And so what that's meant, though, is for the past month, I've had to fix the things that I didn't fix over 5 years of living here. I'm not handy. So for the past few weeks, I've been trying to make this house look pretty and get all the clutter put away and get rid of stuff we don't need and go to the dump and fix things and have workers come in when you have no money to pay them to fix things. So that's been my last several weeks. And the 2 weeks since the house went on the market was just chaos. So that's why I haven't been around. And it is very stressful, but I'm really excited about it. I really am. Like, when I was little, my parents overbought the house that we grew up in, and so I should have learned from this lesson. But anyways, it is, I wasn't expecting to get laid off for the economy like 6 months after I bought the largest thing I'd ever bought in my life. I guess that can't really be predicted. So, anywho, that's what's going on with me, Noah.
Wow, that is a lot. I feel like you have gone through a bunch in the last year, and I'm glad that you have still like the capacity to be excited for anything.
Yeah, me too, because I wasn't for a bunch of the last year. And I don't want to turn this into Better Human, Better Gamer. What I will say, though, is I think that this whole thing sounds ridiculous to people, and that's fine. I spent literally my version of a spirit walk, like a spirit journey. I spent a couple days just miserable, not talking to myself, and I figured out that what the core things are that I need in my life to be happy, and they're serviced by this content we're making. So if selling the house and making content is my life right now, okay, that sounds nice. There's other stuff that has to happen, like I haven't done my taxes yet for this year. Shh, don't tell the government. So there's some other things I have to do. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. Shall we talk about 40Ks?
Yeah. Do you have good, bad, and uglies today? Because I do. If we don't, I have some in me. If we don't,
Oh, let's do yours.
okay, cool. So the good.
Mm-hmm.
The good is Death Guard and World Eaters codexes.
Okay.
Yay! They go out. Street date is Saturday. By all accounts,
Both of them on the same day?
Yeah, they were.
Sorry, guys. I've not been paying attention to 40K the last 2 weeks. I have been making content weirdly, but no, not paying attention.
Following up on 40K meta is one of my favorite things to do. Okay, let's talk about it.
I'm listening.
So, Saturday marks the end of a 2-week pre-order window where the street date will arrive. So that's a Saturday. That's also the rules cutoff for Storm, which means, drum roll, we'll talk about this major that's coming up in the area. We'll have both of the new Chaos Cult Marine codexes that have just come out legal for the event, which will be wild. It's going to be super, super dope.
What date is the event? How much street date time will people have experience with these?
1 week.
Oh, like Storm is a week and a half from now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We've had the rules.
I'm so down to hear about this. This is going to be great. So not next week, but the week after, the whole episode is going to be Noah talking about this tournament. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So Storm is coming up. So 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, or whatever, we got all the rules. They went past embargo. We got everyone doing the reviews. We got a bunch of leaks. So we've had some time sitting and playing, and I played against New Death Guard already. So by all accounts of perception, Death Guard and World Eaters are good. Okay. Cool. They are now multiple ways to play both factions. So things like they have, like with World Eaters, they did a kind of something I think we all saw coming is they basically nerfed Angron into the ground. He's still playable, but he's definitely not, you must take Angron anymore. And then they added a whole bunch of new dimension to how the codex plays. They removed some of the, so one of the big things with World Eaters was the blood tithe. It still is, the rule is still blood tithe, but one of the things was everyone always took 6 up Feel the Pain, Advance and Charge, +2 to movement, and Fight on Death. Those 4 were like the staples that everyone took. And then when you were able to proc extra blessings, you'd get like, or if you really needed it for specific reasons, you get like sustained and lethal or +2 to move, right? So in the new codex, We do not have advance and charge. There's only one way to advance charge in the whole book. We do not have the 6 of Feel No Pain, so you're not defensive like you were with your 8-pound.
Seth Oster says, DG is not good. Don't try to convince me otherwise.
We'll get there in a sec. But so you think, oh no, this sounds terrible. Angron, the mainstays we lost. Basically, almost everything in the book just got 2, and then we lost the 2-inch move ability in Blood Tides. But basically, almost everything in the book went up 2 inches in movement just on its data sheet. So like a lot of things are movement 10 now. Normal Zerkers are movement 8, right? So like a lot of stuff just got better on its data sheets. The entire book, other than Angron, basically got a glow up for data sheets. All the detachments were pretty great. There's 1 or 2, like not as goods, but in general, that book was awesome. I think the Death
There's
Guard
like
book,
actual variety in that. Like I know that I'm sure it'll end up that there's one detachment everybody's playing, but in the hypothetical, there's multiple different ways to play the army that are all good.
Yes, and they found a unique way to make World Eater shooting viable. And I think someday we'll see a new kit for like the Defiler, because the Defiler in both of these new books got new rules and a glow up and an update, even though we have this super old crab model. So for instance, like the World Eater Defiler, if you set up, like if you are put onto the table for like Deep Strike, within 12 inches of a World Eater Defiler, at the end of the movement phase, it gets to charge you.
Oh.
But like, I mean, it still has to roll, right? So you might be within 12, whatever. But the unique way they made World Eaters very like shooting feel unique, I guess I use the word too many times, is they basically they made everything shoot worse. So they made it all hit on 4s instead of 3s. But literally nearly every single gun in the whole book is rapid fire now, to represent them getting closer while they're just holding the trigger down and shooting it. Which means a Land Raider gets 8 las cannon shots when it's within, because their las cannons are rapid fire now.
That's dope. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then moving to Death Guard.
Are we actually going to see what Chaos Land Raiders?
Yeah, probably in that.
Oh
in that.
my!
Probably,
I love being a Land Raider.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then in Death Guard is probably the stronger codex. That's like the belief right now. They're both good and playable. I think they both will have
according to Seth Oster.
They might have. Death Guard might be the one that came out like too good. It may be overtuned. We may see some things that get knocked back. They did a lot of very interesting things to Death Guard to make them, again, feel very unique and very powerful. And again, many detachments that are viable, which is cool. The one that everyone is really liking is called Plague Champions. Real quick, the World Eaters one. There's a strat in the World Eaters one in the Demon detachment that lets you, whenever a unit, yours or mine, dies at any phase, 1 CP, you get to bring in a unit of bloodletters that you have in reserve and put it anywhere on the table outside of engagement range within 9 inches of whatever just died.
Oh.
Any phase. You could kill something in tank shock and have it arrive an inch away and then charge the thing that something else.
Oh, because it doesn't arrive at end of phase, it arrives immediately.
It arrives now.
Well, that's better than the Incarn.
Yeah, so and you can do it in any phase. Like you kill something in the movement phase, but you can only use it once per battle round. It's a battle round lock, not a phase lock. So you can't have basically 3 rapid ingresses in a turn or something crazy, right? Which is cool. World Eaters is probably, like I said, probably a little, or not World Eaters. Death Guard is probably a little too strong. There's some really cool powers. The Plague Champions one lets them switch which plague they currently have active, which gives them a lot of utility. It also is the one that rewards you for like characters leading stuff, and all their characters got like super crazy glow ups. The new character we just got just like picks something it can see, and everything rerolls hits at shooting at it, which is wild because now bloat drones with their anti tank guns are like damage 3d6 shots, and then you'll reroll all hits, and you can get like extra AP, and you can get sustained and lethal.
Yeah, and they probably hit badly, but they just get a bunch of shots. It sounds like
they hit on 3s normally, and then you make them hit on 3s, reroll everything.
I thought the drones hit on 4s or something before.
Oh man, we are where we are. Okay. Plague Marines are still amazing. Mortarion is okay, but is also like someone had a stroke when they wrote Mortarion's rules because he does a bunch of weird stuff now.
Okay.
He doesn't have like a bunch of like I make things better rules within range. He has rules that, like, for instance, one of his like pick 3 abilities is basically giving a reactive move to any Death Guard unit that is within 9 inches when an enemy unit moves within 9 inches of that Death Guard. It's very weird. And all of his rules are that way. But like I could go through the whole thing. The Death Guard Codex is very strong, and we are going to see it played. What this means?
How about abstractly? Why is it strong, Noah?
It's strong
in like 3 or 4 sentences.
Okay, it's strong because like nearly all of its data sheets have strong powers, good weapons, and synergy, and it doesn't really have like an unplayable detachment that I have seen.
Okay, is it like Death Guard before, where it's like, hey, we're really survivable and we kill some, or is it really survivable and it kills lots? Is it Space Marines? Is it like what are they going to play like?
Yeah, so it is definitely more.
Let me add the caveat, because as no one knows, every single way they've played till now is stupid and I hate it. There, please continue now.
So they play like a combined arm. So they're basically a combined arms army now. Like
neat.
They're combined arms, so they have some good anti-tank shooting access. They have really strong melee access. Okay. They are slow-ish, so slower than normal Marines, right?
Good. They should be.
They're not as durable as we have historically seen Death Guard. They do have some durable units. Their Terminators can be very durable, especially with strat support. They're still like, higher toughness, whatever. They're not crazy durable. I played against them, and you can definitely kill Plague Marines and stuff. What they are is they are more lethal, not in a like I kill you with like a million things, but they are lethal at every distance value now. So they have some long range shooting where they can reach out and get to you, or like medium range shooting. They have, and then the closer you get to Death Guard, just like the absolutely more lethal they get, which I think is kind of interesting. They're not going to alpha strike you. They're also not going to be impossible to kill. And they don't necessarily screw up all like the dice rolls as complicatedly as they did previously. But basically, the closer you get to Death Guard, the worse your game is going to get for a bunch of reasons. 1, you'll be within range of more of their shooting profiles. 2, you'll get affected by their plagues. And 3, they'll be able to apply more different types of ways they can damage you. So mortal wounds, long range shooting, medium range shooting, good melee. So they're kind of like, they're a board control Space Marine army that is slightly more resilient, not super fast, and wants to take up space and then punish you for trying to take space back. They do have some really interesting data sheets, and they have some ways to go fast if they need to. Specifically, basically all of the drone types are good. Also, spawn, as they have in every book that's come out now, spawn are cool, and their spawn are unique. Their spawn scout, and their spawn, every time you hit them, up to a max of 6 mortal wounds, you roll a die, and on a number up, you do mortals to the melee unit that's hitting you in the face. They're like covered in pustules. So that being said, that's like the big ones. My bad is also almost the same as my bad is we may have overtuned Death Guard, but also Emperor's Children has a 67% win rate right now. That's not good.
On that army that everybody said, hey, this isn't actually good. This is
Yeah.
going to be let me tell you. Okay, so we're going to take a tangent while Colin points something out.
Okay.
I have a lot of Chaos friends. Okay, and by the way, I did lore. I've now done 2 episodes of the lore crash course, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I now have gone up through the Horus Heresy, and I think that the Chaos might be the good guys to that point in the story. So if you want to hear why Colin thinks that, you've got to listen to 2 episodes of 40K Lore Crash Course. But going through it, the number of bad things done by the Imperium versus Chaos to that point, anyways. So Chaos rules. I have notoriously been critical of Chaos rules, but I have everybody around me plays Chaos. All my main practice partners, Chuck and Josh and Noah, everybody. So I am super excited about this because I think that Death Guard sounds actually maybe interesting. And I didn't appreciate 375 Plague Marines walking that towards me. I thought that was stupid. And that's what the meta for Death Guard was for a long time. Like, it was like, I've got Mortarion and Plague Marines. Anything else? No, just those data. Oh, no. And the Flamer guy. 3 data sheets, excuse me. So I didn't care for that. I didn't think that was particularly interesting. This sounds much more interesting to play against.
Death Shroud Terminators are very good now.
Well, that's cool because their models are kind of dope.
Yeah, their thing is that if you're afflicted, they can deep strike at 6 inches of you instead of 9. So if you get your enemy unit within engagement, within range of your plague, then your Death Shroud units come in super close, and then they still hit hard like Mack trucks, and they can be led by a Lord of Contagion who hits like a Mack truck on crack, and so who is also like moderately unkillable. Yeah, I think it's generally good. Now EC is really fun to play.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, so my point was, on what I was saying, let me just finish my point because this was the reason I tangented. Emperor's Children, all of my Chaos friends said, this is probably only good. This is probably not overpowered. Noah's like, this is going to be really good, but I don't think it's entirely there. Like, everybody said that, no offense to Noah. And now the next thing I hear, because I've not been paying attention the past 2 weeks, the next thing I hear is Emperor's Children has a 67% win rate. Oh,
to be fair, I think I said it on the show, so I think it is recorded somewhere. I have only been on record. I think everyone but me has said what you said. I have only been on record saying I think World Eaters Emperor's Children is way better than everyone thinks it is.
Okay.
But I don't think we're going to see that until we see some of the best players playing it. And I think everyone thinks it's just okay or maybe bad. Yeah. I felt like from the moment I saw that codex, I was like, this is probably busted. And everybody's like, no. And then some people who I think are some of the best players in the world, who I trust, were suddenly playing it a lot in all the practice stuff I saw them playing it. And I'm like, hey, I think Emperor's Children is too good. And they're like, don't worry about it. Look somewhere else. And I think the hope was that like people would just, because most of the people on the internet have been believing that Emperor's Children is not good. Okay. Though like some of the very best players, including myself in this, like, you know, your John Lennon's, your Anthony Vanellas of the world, have been of the opinion that it is very good. And they're, you know, smashing people. And now we're seeing it's right. Now, I do say that it is more complicated to play. So I don't think everyone can just pick it up and make it, and it's busted. I do think if you have like a strong understanding of like how like positioning and the fight phase, everything works, and you are medium good at 40K, you could probably pick up Emperor's Children and make other people never want to play you again because they are probably that good. But on paper, they don't look right. So on paper, it's like they have like one shooting unit, Noise Marines. Their melee units are literally 85-point battle line units that just give some rerolls and have strength 4 AP1 1 damage weapons that are melee weapons that are precision. It's like all it is. So on paper, what it looks like is 5 battle line units, 2 demon princes, 3 squads of shooting Noise Marines, like 8 characters, and some rhinos and things salt and peppered in there, and it does not look very impressive. Noise Marines, for the most part, are strength 5, AP 1, damage 2, no cover. Their big heavy gun is strength 10, AP 2, damage 3, no cover. There's a lot of stuff profiles there that just look kind of medium.
Okay.
It turns out when you combine those medium profiles with the entire army advances, shoots, charges, falls back, shoots, charges, as well as a bunch of ways to get like stacking, to get stacking rerolls, and you take like the Lord Exultant, which is like the captain character. He goes ham and hits like just incredibly hard once per game. But when you put him with a unit where he's rerolling all wounds and giving his unit lethal, and then also on top of that, the detachment rule, the detachment that most people are playing, which is coterie, is like you make a bet on how many things you're going to kill. And as you meet that bet number, you unlock points. And as you go up the scale of points, your army gets good. So Colin, let me talk to you about this. Do you like reroll ones to hit as a detachment rule by just if that was your only detachment rule? That's like, what do you think?
Pretty solid.
Okay. What about if you had reroll ones to hit and ones to wound as your detachment rule?
I like that better.
What if your detachment rule was that plus your entire army in shooting and melee is sustained and lethal?
Then we have a problem where I might become engorged.
Okay, so the last one. What if also your entire army crit 5s?
Okay, then I have to go to the hospital.
Okay, so how this works is when they get to 7, when they have got to 7 points, which is like they have killed 7 units, that is what they get. Reroll ones to hit, runs to wound, sustained lethal crit 5s for the.
But after you kill 7 units, that's a lot of units. So
sure, if you kill 3 units, you have reroll ones to hit, reroll ones to wound.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
I love it.
But here's the thing: is 7 units sounds like a lot, but there's a lot of things in the meta right now that run like 20 something units. For instance, guard, Tau. There's like a lot of orcs. There's a lot of stuff that runs lots of little units that are relatively killable. For instance, if you screen against EC, if you screen against code, this is one of the reasons I think it is good. Just the reason why, one of the reasons I think GSC had such high win rates previously. You can't play against coterie the way you play against everything else. If you screen the melee army and they throw they expend a couple units against you, what you'll have done is delayed them for 2 turns, unlocked all of their detachment rules, and then they're going to literally like a 5-man unit kills large tanks by itself. It's like real bad, real bad. So I think the problem is that it's kind of like Harlequins and GSC together, where it's like the EC doesn't follow any of the rules. They fall back, shoot, and charge.
Okay.
They shoot and charge. So it doesn't follow any of the rules. And it has counter patterns to how you're supposed to play against it that don't make sense, I think, like conventionally when you first look at the army. And then also all of the data sheets punch incredibly outside of their fucking point range. So when you sit down to play against an opponent, if you are not fully prepared for what's about to happen, you have these 85-point units destroying your much more expensive units, and you have this incredibly efficient army that doesn't play the rules of normal 40K. And when you play against them in the way that you're supposed to play 40K, you lose the game. And I think that's why their win rate is high. I think we will see an adjustment down slightly as we get better at playing against EC. But I think they are incredibly good.
Okay, cool. That's a great update. So for your tournament, all 3 of those things exist?
For Storm, all 3 of those things will exist. Yes.
Woo! That's a different meta.
It very much is. It is. So also the previous, before Wet Coast, we had data slate updates, right? Which adjusted a lot of things as well. So we have a very, like a month, the meta from a month ago is just like not going to be a thing for Storm. We're going to have a very interesting meta, which is excited. I'm still playing Green Tide at Storm. So
yeah, it's wildly unclear to me how Ynnari fits into all of that. Like, I know that Ynnari is really good, but like, that's a lot new that I'll have to play into.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know that the EC versus Ynnari game is probably one of the silliest, funnest games that we could probably ever play.
All right, well, let's do it.
Cool. I'm playing the EC mirror match in the Vibe Check League, which is going to be hilarious because that means every model on that table will not have to, can advance and shoot, can advance and charge, can fall back and shoot, can fall back and charge. So we're just like ignoring half the rules of 40K is what's going to happen.
That's great. So one of the things that happened several weeks ago is that the fans of the show decided that I'm going to learn Emperor's Children, and I'm going to take them along for the ride. So I'm going to record a couple coaching sessions, record some of my TTS games where I'm learning it, and I'm going to kind of share that experience each week on this show because I learn things pretty quickly. I don't master things any quicker than anybody else, but I learn things pretty quickly. And so it should be interesting for me to kind of process that army. It sounds like I'm going to be really good at it from what I've heard. So yeah, is that your vibe, Noah? Do you think Colin will be good at that?
They're basically at least the way that I think of how Eldar play. They're very chaos Eldar-y because they can like not be anywhere on the table and then suddenly be everywhere on the table. And they have a bunch of interesting ways to interact with you and a bunch of really cool tools. They are a little more like, my job is to punch you than Eldar are. But I think you will get a kick out of it. And I think you will really enjoy some of the shenanigans that can occur. There are some very deep shenanigans, like the strats that make it so your opponent can only hit the unit you spent the strat on, right? That kind of shenanigans exist.
Okay. All right.
I think we'll get bored in a little way, though, because as opposed to Eldar, there's no variety of data sheets. Their only shooting unit is Noise Marines. The bulk of the lists, regardless of detachment, look almost identical. Fulgrim is not competitive really, so you don't take Fulgrim. So almost every list is like 2 Demon Princes, maybe a third if you're spicy, 5 Battle Line units, maybe a 10-man if you're spicy, 3 of Lord Exultants, 1 to 3 Lord Cacophonous, which is like the guy who joins the Noise Marines, 3 squads of Noise Marines, some number of Rhinos, maybe some number of Spawn, Lucius the Eternal. That's literally every single list other than the Demons detachment.
Okay. All right. That was a fantastic update from Noah. All 3 chaos things have been spoken about. Before you talk about what's that?
The gods are pleased.
Right. So I'm going to give a little bit of an update on this show, and I've got new news for this show that Noah doesn't know.
Okay.
So we're going to announce that here, and then I'm going to give a little bit of an update on the network. I'll make it quick, and then Noah is going to talk through the tournament he just went through. I think in the abstract, because it's been weeks now and that meta doesn't exist. Right, Noah?
Also, I'm pretty sure EC just got a nerf just now.
Oh, okay.
So you do your update. I'm going to listen. I'm going to figure out what this update says, and then we'll come back.
Oh, great. Okay. So if this is the thing I don't ever remember, if you're enjoying this and you'd like to see more content from me and from us, please like and subscribe. Okay. So I had a lot of time while doing menial tasks to think about the network. And what I came up with is that there are 2 types of things. There are podcasts, which a lot of people do, which is talking heads, minimal visuals. You can basically listen to it and you get the majority of the value. And then there's shows, like created shows. And the great examples of this is what BiffPod was before, was just people talking. We went on YouTube. We rarely shared visuals. You didn't really need to watch us. Play on Tabletop is the exact opposite of that. They've made a 45-minute thing. They've put incredible effort into it. It is edited together, and it doesn't have rambling and, blah, 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 blah. You know, when I was a kid, I liked Transformers. It doesn't have that stuff mixed in, okay? I like both of those kinds of content. I think that the podcast content is harder to land because there's so much of it. So at the same time, and also it's not as fun for me to have podcast people versus YouTube people, because YouTube people are much easier to interact with. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both kinds of content because I think that's going to best serve my goal of kind of getting my message out there and getting attention for the things that we're all doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this show and just accept that it's a podcast. We're going to keep doing it live. We're going to keep leaving the video up on YouTube. However, I'm also going to put it out on the Best in Tabletop podcast feed, so that if you just want to listen, what Noah?
I said, yay.
So if you just want to listen to Noah and Colin each week, you can do that. Okay. So if you watch us live, here's the promise I'm going to make you. For the next 2 episodes, if you ask a question on any topic that isn't inappropriate for children, we are going to answer it in the middle of what we're talking about. Whatever it might be, Noah. It could be about hot dogs, could be about 40K. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right. So that's what you get if you watch us live, is you get silly interaction. Okay. The episode, so that's what's going to happen with this show. Starting this week, I'm going to put the episodes up on the podcast feed. Additionally, the Monday night show, the Rogue Trader RPG, again, if you interact live, it's super fun. However, that show's at 7 o'clock Pacific. I totally acknowledge that a large amount of our player base doesn't want to watch something at that time of night. And again, while it does have visuals and they are interesting and you can see the die rolls, it is also an acceptable thing to be able to listen to. So I'm also going to release that on the podcast feed. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to release every episode of it from the start because it's an RPG. So I'll get those out on the feed as well. So both of these shows you'll be able to interact with as a podcast. You'll be able to interact with as a YouTube show. Additionally, I'm going to set up the system again to get everybody into the Discord so that if you want to come to interact directly with the content creators of the network, that would be great. It's not just me, Bailey Strom's making a ton of content. Noah's been a big part of making this show. So, okay, those are the podcasts. All right, now here's what's happening. I think that the thing that I'm most excited about is making web shows, like actual TV shows that are on the internet about 40K. And I understand that I don't have the budget to be like, welcome to Entertainment Tonight. Like, I understand that I don't have that level of stuff. However, I can make independent looking TV shows and I can edit them down and I can make them entertaining and interesting. And I'm pretty darn excited about it. The first show that I'm doing is called 40K Lore Crash Course. I have redonkulously bad ADHD, and while I love the lore, I can't even get myself to read through a codex, let alone one of the 7,322 Black Library books. That's an estimate, probably low. So I want to know the lore. I like the lore. And so we had the idea that Bailey, who is a lover of the lore and also a history professor, would literally give me the information at a pace that I appreciate and can handle, which is fast. So like I like TV shows where the powder's very quick. So Bailey is giving me that information and I'm processing it, and we're having a pretty silly time. It's very much a comedy show, not just a serious lore show. We have one episode up for that right now that gets us up to the point where, as I put it in the show, Emperor says, "Hey Horus, you're in charge now. I'm going back to Earth. You don't get to know why. Deuces." So we went up to that point in the first episode. The second episode goes from that to the end of the Horus heresy. That is up. It's only going to be a YouTube show because I put a ridiculous amount of effort into the visuals. There's lots to see. There's absolutely no reason why you should just listen to it. Okay, fourth show. This is a silly thing. At Charity Hammer, I do a show called Colin's Play Silly Games, Win Silly Prizes. Sometimes it's Play Stupid Games, Win Silly, whatever, right? And that's been incredibly fun. And what I realize is that if I spend some more time thinking about that and I make it a more product thing, a more built out thing with more thought through games, that I could make it a show. So I am going to make a competitive. Now, okay, I don't want to make a lore trivia show. I want to make a trivia show for competitive 40K nerds. So I'm going to make a competitive 40K trivia show about competitive 40K. Huh? That's not the name, but it could be the name, but it's not the name. So we've got the competitive 40K show, and how's that going to work? Well, the first 4 episodes are going to be 9 of my close friends who you know, people from online, Noah. It sounds like we're going to get involvement from JT McDowell. Tyler Bortell's probably going to be involved. We're going to get these people, and we're going to put them into 3 groups of 3, and each of them is going to play a 45-ish, 30 to 45 minute-ish show that is games that are silly, that are trivia based. One of the games is a speed round where I tell you the weapon profile, where I tell you the thing that is attacking or shooting at the thing, and you have to quickly tell me what it wounds on. That's one of the games. with the pluses to wound and the minuses to wound, and what if your strength is higher? People get tripped up trying to do that at speed. It's pretty funny. So we're going to have these games. They're going to be funny. We're going to show 3 episodes of 3 people, and then the winners of each of those are going to do a grand championship episode. And the winner of that is going to be featured in our credit sequence for a year. So they're going to be the grandmaster for a year. And then after that, I'm going to literally let people from the community come on the show. That's the plan. So that's what's up. I also have a hobby show that's a game show that I'm excited about, but that's in the future. So we're going to do, so the lore crash course is out now. The second episode will launch Monday. Later next week, the trivia show will launch. I'm very excited about both. They're both going to be things you need to watch on YouTube. There's going to be tons of visuals. And then we'll have the other 2 shows that are on YouTube, but also podcasts. That is what we're doing.
Awesome.
Noah agrees?
Great update. Yes.
Okay. All right, Noah, what's happening in Emperor's Children?
Okay, so this is an interesting day. Games Workshop has updated some rules in the app. However, they have not published on their community site what actually got updated. So,
Awesome.
So these are like, currently it's like a stealth update.
Okay.
I was wrong. World Leaders or Emperor's Children did not get nerfed. They, in fact, in some ways got buffed.
Okay. What do you know that's changed out of the things that...
well, the one nerf they for sure got is the Helldrake went to a 3-up armor save rather than a 2-up armor save. Which,
well, yeah.
But I do have the notes, because one thing that is cool about the app is that if you go into your specific codex in the app, you can say, there'll be a little tab that says FAQs and then updates and erratas. So under FAQs, one thing a big thing is that the coterie, the conceded, the detachment I was talking about before, you only can increment your count up. You can only do that if your warlord is on the table at the beginning of the battle round. So if your warlord dies, it limits, you can no longer get more powerful unless there's a strat that lets you basically increment your pledge up by 1. Previously, it was kind of thought that you couldn't do that if your warlord was dead. You can.
Okay.
So basically, what happens if your warlord's dead? You can only go up 1 level a turn, but you can still go up levels. So that's actually a small buff. Also, the Noise Marine morale debuff does stack. So if I shoot you with 3 squads of Noise Marines, you're at -3 to your leadership. So there's that. And then the updates and erratas, basically, they changed the power sword strength for the Infractors and Tormentors to 5, which is kind of expected. That was obviously a misprint. They did clarification on one of the strats from one of the detachments not very many people play, the vehicle detachment, and they nerfed the Helldrake's armor save. There may also be other changes to other books. It looks like maybe Death Guard got some updates too. I'll have to go through and look. But it's not clearly highlighted currently on the Warhammer community page what changes were made. And it's not like when you go to the downloads, it doesn't say like, these ones just got updated. It doesn't say that at all. Okay. So I'm sure there's probably someone who is currently collating all the changes somewhere on the internet right now where you can go watch it on YouTube. But
look, let's be honest. Goonhammer's going to have all this broken out for people in like the next hour. So like...
You said that, and then I realized I just didn't look at Goonhammer.
I already did. Okay, so we have... It's fine. The update happened literally during the show. People will forgive us.
Yeah, sure.
Noah, how was West Coast?
West Coast was great. My first round of West Coast. So I went. I was super excited. We went with a team. We had a great time.
Wasn't it like it was like 100 people?
160.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
that's one of the big. That's probably the biggest West Coast Canadian tournament in memory.
Yeah, the big ones right now for like the Northwest in general are basically West Coast, Storm,
Tacoma,
Clash, and Tacoma Open being the biggest, obviously, but it's not independent. And
right.
then I think Rosehammer gets to about 80 or so. So
Well, I think Rosehammer is bigger than that. Anyways, go ahead with Flat Coast.
and then Slaanesh. Those are like
Oh,
the
sure,
six,
yeah.
right? So my round one was against the person who played off in the finals against the champion last year. And he played excellently. I had a lot of I made some mistakes, but I also this isn't not. I don't want to sound like I'm taking this guy's win away because he beat me. He did great. He actually did a really smart move that I did not see coming that totally blew my mind. But I timed out, and one of the things, and I don't usually time out with a tie, but one of the reasons I did is because I was that job offer that got pulled last minute that I talked about. I was negotiating that job offer during my round one because I have to get a job, and that was when I had to do it. So I'm in email negotiating my job offer while also playing my round one. My thought was my round one was probably going to be pretty chill because it normally is. That was not the case. I was basically playing my finals game round one. Exceptional player who has won a bunch of events. Very rough. Very rough, so I timed out and I was ahead. I'm like, oh, I'm still going to win off of a timeout. Cool, that's great. He saw that coming, and instead of doing the thing where he sub 5, so we don't start another round, and then I win because of points, he took his 4, drew his cards, scored his primary, and passed the turn. Didn't move a single model, which left him with 4 seconds more than 5 minutes on the clock, which meant we got to start another round. Because if there's more than 5 minutes, if both players are, if at least one player is more than 5 minutes, you start the next round. So he basically just skipped his round 4, which meant he then immediately got to score 15 more primary and win the game.
Wow.
And it was a 15-point loss or whatever. So I lost my first round, and then I went on an absolute tear for the next 5 rounds.
Submarine, here we go.
And I went 5-1. I took third best overall. If I would have won my second game, if I would have lost my second game instead of my first, I would have taken best overall, which would have got me a golden ticket. So I just kind of barely missed it. But it was great. I played against a lot of very cool armies. I played against a lot of Space Marines. It turns out Green Tide is very good at killing Space Marines. My one loss was against Tau. Other than that, I played against Blood Angels, Imperial Guard, Space Wolves. I mentioned Tau, Chaos Knights, and something else that I can't remember at the moment.
That sounded like 6, but okay.
Oh, maybe it was. Sure.
All right. Okay.
But yeah,
so now
it was great. It was great. I did well on all accounts, but I'm ready for a second chance.
All right. How are you preparing for Storm other than not negotiating a job offer while at the table in round 1? I guess if that happens, it's fine.
Yeah, it's worth it, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So a couple things is I'm currently R&Ding some ways to make my deployment much faster. I've been using deployment movement trays and things, and some other things to speed up my play. But I have some A to speed up my play. Secondarily, I'm also going to do some I'm going to get some games in, which is important. And the other thing is the army that I took to Storm was slightly different than my normal one, where I added a battle wagon.
Okay.
I was thinking about rolling that away and taking just 20 more dudes. However, given that we just added 2 basically melee armies to the meta, and it turns out the Death Guard anti-tank weapons are the defense profile for battle wagons is uniquely good against those, and also against strength 12 anti-tank weapons. I'm going to just keep the battle wagon of that thing. I think the battle wagon's purpose was to make me slightly better into my melee matchups, like Custodes, World Eaters, etc. I think that's more relevant. So I'm just going to keep it as is.
Yeah, and I know that you abide by the same general concept that I do, which is when you're preparing for a tournament, you prep for the 3 hardest things and outplay everyone else, right? Like, there's other bad matchups for Noah's list, and he's just going to outplay those people. That's just what's going to happen. And that's so, like, if you're preparing for a local GT and there's 30 people and you look at that list, it's very likely, if you're a serious person about winning tournaments, you're going to look at that list and probably know who the scariest people on that list are. In a local tournament like that, you prepare for those 3 people and you just outplay everybody else. And so it sounds like that's the way Noah's preparing. I'm worried about these particular lists. I'm going to build for them. I've played this list forever. I'm going to just handle everybody else. Right?
There are like basically 5 armies that I'm like that are on my like scary, right? So Death Guard, World Eaters, EC, Warpbane, Grey Knights because they shoot a million shots and are good, and then Vanguard Tyranids, which no one really plays right now, but the way they interact with morale can just make me lose the game instantly sometimes because orcs are leadership 7.
Right.
If I don't go into those, and then if I don't go into those things, then I feel pretty generally good. I think my worst matchup, like period, is probably Warpbane and Vanguard, which I don't think I'll see as much, but who knows? The things that I'm going to see that are all going to be hard matchups, every one of these matchups is going to be very difficult. Death Guard is probably the hardest of these 3. Is World Eaters, Death Guard, Emperor's Children.
All right.
The only reason Emperor Children, I think, is at the bottom of those 3, though, is because Coterie requires killing things to go up on its list, like its abilities. Without going up on those abilities, Coterie doesn't kill boys that well. And so the idea is I want to force them to engage before they've up-leveled their Coterie abilities. Since I do pick up power armor very easily, all I really need to do is get like one real good commit into like 3 or 4 units, and then I'm pretty sure I have the game. So EC is scary, but I think less scary than Death Guard, than World Eaters, and I think Death Guard is probably the scariest because they did change some of the things I was worried about with with World Eaters. So I think World Eaters is a little better of a matchup for me, even though they're a better army now.
Mm-hmm.
They also shoot more, which like my specifically Green Tag gets better if you're an army that wants to shoot at all as part of your game plan. And I think because they made everybody's stuff rapid fire in World Eaters and there's some hype around it, I think people are taking shooting units now in World Eaters, which I think is actually better for me.
Yeah. Okay. One of our viewers says, Emp's children have nothing, and I want to respond other than a 67% win rate. Other than that, you're right. Nothing. I tease. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's funny because earlier in the episode, Noah went on about how much better they are than everybody thought they were and why. Because people wander in and out. Again, not making fun of anybody.
Dom, so I'll give you the
Emperor's Children on last weekend had a 67% win rate, mostly with Coterie. You said, Noah?
Yeah, it's Coterie and the basic generic list. It's 3 Lord Exultants, 2 Demon Princes, or maybe 3 if you're spicy. Some amount of Lord Cacophonists, 5 to 6 battle line units, 3 squads of Noise Marines, some Rhinos, Lucius, Pepper in.
All right. Well, we're at the end of the hour that we promised we were going to do since neither of us slept at all. So is there anything else we want to cover?
No, I feel good. This is great.
Okay. So just as a reminder, like and subscribe. Our podcast feed will start up again for both this show and the RPG show to make it easier for you guys to listen. And then please check out 40K Lore Crash Course. Please. I have put more effort into that one episode than any episode of Biff Pod ever. So like, it's very important to me to see how that show goes. Now, I'm not saying, I worked so hard. It was very fun, but I put a lot of work into it, and I'd like people to appreciate it. So please check that out. Okay, that's us for this week. We'll be back next week for Noah to talk more about chaos and in the meta, I suspect.
Next week will be my episode before Storm.
Yes, which is interesting. Storm is where Biff Pod started. Is always a significant memory. What's that?
I believe Senior Chuck will be at Storm.
That sounds right. I cannot go to Storm because I am selling my house, but my hope is that my house will sell quick enough that I am not super overwhelmed and stressed to go to Tacoma.
That would be great. Would
But
love to see.
Tacoma's late June, is that right?
Usually it's July, so
Oh, I
somewhere.
hope it's July. Much more likely that I can go if it's in July. Okay, guys, we'll see y'all later. He's Noah Badome. I'm calling because someone has to be, and we'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.